Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Majestic Theater Online, and this is Behind the Curtain. Today, Danny Eaton, producing director, will be interviewing Ben Ashley, and the program will be about 45 minutes to 1 hour. On your screen, as many of you have already seen, there is a chat window. Please write us questions, and Danny and Ben will answer them later in the program. You can email your comments to info@majestictheater.com. And please consider making a donation to help support the Majestic Theater and these online productions. And now please help me welcome Danny Eaton and Ben Ashley.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, Emily.
Okay, and we are just waiting for Ben's video to turn back on. Let's see.
There he is.
I'm here.
Hi, Ben.
Wonderful. Okay, have a wonderful chat, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, and listen, a lot of thanks to all of you people who are, the hundreds of people who are tuning in to watch this. We're assuming hundreds, right? That'd be nice. But thanks to all of you. And if you go to our website, there are some other streaming things that are happening. Children's theater production of Sleepy Hollow, and the possibility also of seeing The Pitch. So check that out on our website. And you know, this is our kickoff on these online content things that we're trying to do while everything else is shuttered up because of this COVID-19 crazy virus. And I'm speaking to you from my dining room table right now.
I'm in my basement.
Ben's in his basement. My cats are around here somewhere. They may be interrupting this entire thing. But anyway, and thanks to all of the people who've helped us with the technology for putting this together, all of our box office and house manager staff, and Emily and Justin and Carly, and oh my God, a lot of people been involved in getting this off the ground. So thanks to all of you for tuning in. When we get toward the end of the hour, we'll open it up to some questions from you folks. If you have any questions, you know, go to the chat thing, and we'll be able to maybe answer some of your questions. Who knows? Okay, Ben, here we go.
Yes, Danny, welcome. Good to see you.
So first question for Ben. How did you prepare for the role of Buddy Holly?
Well, back then, go back a few years, 1997, the internet wasn't really what it is now. So
No, it wasn't.
we couldn't just go on YouTube like we can now. So I went to the library, but you were gracious enough to loan me some material that you had collected in your research as well in preparing to do the show. You had some great VHS videos of Buddy and the history, and I kind of delved into it and learned as much as I could. Certainly, the show was a challenge for sure, because to be honest with you, I didn't really know Buddy Holly back then. I had heard his songs. When you start going into it and you start researching a character or a musician, you think, wow, you hear a song. I didn't know that was Buddy Holly. Oh, geez, you know, I fell in love with his music for sure. He was definitely an incredible pioneer.
Yeah, he was. And that was all our first production in the Majestic when we reopened the theater. And that was an adventure in and of itself. I remember, I wish we had that that photograph of our very first rehearsal.
Yes.
On the Majestic stage. It was like this huge circle of actors,
it
but
was
mostly
plywood.
musicians.
There was no paint, just plywood, and I think there was sawhorses everywhere and building materials. And we looked at you and said, "When is the show opening? How many weeks?" You were so busy. You would direct by night and build all day. I mean, it was a crazy time.
Tiling the floor in the bathrooms. And,
yeah, my goodness.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, but the theater certainly has transformed over the years. But for us, opening that show and seeing the transformation, every day there was something new. You come in and the stage was painted or the wall was built. And I'll never forget opening night. We were told, don't touch the walls. They might still be wet.
It might still be wet.
We didn't get the chairs until like the day before.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
but it all came together. It all came together.
It did. And you know, it became an event. You know, now Buddy Holly was a pretty accomplished guitar player.
I know where you're going with this.
And how about you at the time?
Well, I think I'd be generous if I told you I knew 4 chords. I could play guitar. I knew how to strum a guitar. So, I have a twin brother. A lot of people don't know that, but my brother is an excellent guitar player.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, oh yeah. In fact, in high school, he took guitar lessons, and my mother had bought some guitars at a yard sale. And, you know, we would play. We used to love to sing. Our favorite group growing up was a group called Crowded House, and they had a lot of great guitar music. And we would play, but I would just strum the chords, the ones that I could play. So I knew at least how to strum a guitar, but I can't. I certainly couldn't play like Buddy Holly, and still can't play like Buddy Holly.
Yeah, yeah.
I fake it well.
There's an interesting photograph up on the screen right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You'll notice a lot of these early photographs, I'm staring at my fingers to make sure I'm playing the right chord.
Are you plugged in even on
yeah,
that
back
shot?
in those days, there was a few times I would look down and think, geez, I can't hear myself at all, and realize I wasn't even plugged in. Probably sounded better.
Yeah.
Well, we had to make some accommodations because of my guitar playing in the show.
Right.
In fact, in the original production, the opening number features Buddy and his cousin Nicky Sullivan as the 4th cricket, and we ended up keeping Nicky Sullivan in the show because it was Doug Wallace, as a lot of people know, and Doug is an excellent guitar player.
He's a very accomplished guitar player. Yeah.
Yeah, he had my back.
He filled the void.
Oh, and then some, some. Yeah, do you remember? Yeah, he was quite the showman too. During when we would come in with Johnny Be Good, he'd play the introduction behind his head, and
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what was the toughest song for you to play?
Well, certainly that would hands down have to be True Love Ways.
Just because you're all by yourself.
Because I was by myself. I had nobody to fall back on. It was about 2 minutes of hell until I became more comfortable playing it. But it was hard. Certainly not just because I couldn't play it, but also it involved chords I had never played before. And Steve Mccartney, who was our music director back then, poor Steve, he had his work cut out for him.
He gave you some cheat chords or something?
Yeah. So I would go to Steve's house. You know, we'd rehearse at night or whatever. And I don't know if it was weekends or whatever. I remember going to Steve's house several times, sitting in his kitchen, and we would hash through these songs. And every time we came up with a bar chord that I couldn't play, he would show me a cheat chord. And to this day, I still play them with the cheat chords. Part of it just the way I learned it. You know.
Well, you're somewhat more accomplished.
Yes. Don't practice.
After how many 100 something?
Let's just say I should be a lot better than I am.
For folks who are listening in, True Love Ways, the song that Ben was talking about, was just Buddy and Maria Elena sitting on a couch in their apartment in New York. Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Look at
Buddy
the
and
makeup. Goodness gracious.
Melissa Bailey, who played Maria Elena Holly.
Yep. Yep. Boy, I was skinny, huh? Wow.
No kidding.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that I both love and hate that song is because of it had so much meaning in the show. You know, if you remember, Maria had a nightmare, and to
Right.
calm her and to ease her mind about going, Buddy said, "I wrote a song for you." And so the other reason the song became so difficult was because in that moment, the audience was literally they were like in the room with us. That's one of the beautiful things about performing at the Majestic, because it's such an intimate stage. You can't hide behind lights and effects. It's just you
You're
have
right
to
there.
be in the moment, and you have to bring the audience into that moment as well. So to say they were hanging on every chord, it added more stress, and I flubbed my way through it. You know, there was a few times in the beginning, I'd just have one guitar pick, right? But I'd be so nervous and sweaty that halfway through the song, I would slip and the guitar pick would go flying. Let's just say that only happened once. After that, I started carrying like 4 guitar picks in my pocket. Live and learn, you know?
Yeah. But it was a very, it was a brand new song, right? In the context of the play. And so it didn't really have to be perfect. It was just the context of the emotion of the song had to be there.
Right. So in a way, it actually gave me the ability to worry a little bit less about the guitar and to sing it and to cover my flub. There was several times I can remember missing a chord change and just singing and then coming back in when I got the right chord. Good times though. Good times.
Tell folks about the famous white suit and the glasses and the cowboy boots and all of that stuff.
Well, that white suit. There's a couple of good stories about the white suit. Again, it was live and learn, like the guitar pick thing. I learned as the show went on, certainly in the surf ballroom set, when I'm wearing the white suit, it's very high energy, a lot of people on the stage. And back then, the air conditioning in the theater is not what it is now. So needless to say, I'd get quite sweaty. And I learned the hard way to not wear dark underwear. I was told, like, after the show, like, oh, yeah, we could totally see your underwear.
There's another great picture on the screen right now. And that's kind of just about everybody from the cast, right?
Yeah, well, certainly that first year. Absolutely. Yeah. Jack Veronese back there, awesome, excellent musician. The funny thing about the show, well, we'll get to that, but let me just finish about the damn cowboy boots. I'd never worn cowboy boots in my life. So the heel on the cowboy boot had no grip to it at all. And we used to, run onto some of these scenes. And I can remember the heel catching a few times and sliding and catching my footing without landing in the audience, which was nice. So the thing about that first year we did the show, if you remember, a lot of those people that they just had on the screen,
right?
Well, 90% of them were musicians, not actors.
Yeah, basically garage band musicians.
Yeah,
right?
well, we had some really Jack and Frank Manzi too, very accomplished musicians.
Right.
But certainly
and Aaron and Doug and
these guys had
but
bands.
no theater experience.
Right. So that was a challenge for you to try to rein these folks in.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stories we're not going to tell here about musicians backstage.
I think there are a lot of stories I have yet to hear even about.
Yeah, I honestly, there's stuff that I don't even know about because I was kind of in my world. You know, Stacy, my wife, was in the show with me. So if I wasn't on stage, I was with her.
Yeah.
So Stacy played Vi Petty, as a lot of people know. So Stacy was also, and I have to mention, my hairdresser for every show.
Their hair. Well, we had one sort of early incident where we had an arrangement with a hairdresser, I guess you'd say, right?
Yes. So this was we wanted to experiment with the hairstyle before we even thought of having Stacy curl my hair. I went to a salon in West Springfield and showed him a picture of Buddy Holly. They cut my hair, curled it. I think it was we were doing like a photo thing or whatever. And so I got in my car and I was driving through the parking lot and I came up to an intersection in the parking lot and I looked both ways and then I looked in the mirror and thought, what have I done? And then I pulled out and proceeded to get in a car accident. Yes, thank you, Buddy Holly, thank you.
And you know, we have to talk about the Buddy Holly glasses, of course.
Yeah.
Ken Forney from Ken's Eyewear.
Yeah. Yep.
His was he a sponsor for that first show? I know his.
I think he was. I think it was certainly his. I know his daughter was in the show.
Yeah.
She was one of the. What do we call those characters? They were
Buddy's
like
fans.
the fangirls. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So the original glasses, Ken searched high and low and found a pair of glasses that we had them on the screen a little while ago. They were very big and very thick, and also I will tell you, very heavy. So I've never worn glasses, so it took some getting used to with that as well. And as I might have mentioned, I get very sweaty. So there was a lot of pushing the glasses up, you know. By the time we got done, I think with the second or third run of the show, the frames were hurting. I think we got a different pair after that.
Hey, there was the famous motorcycle scene, right? And then the famous motorcycle incident following the famous motorcycle scene.
I'll tell you, that was a thrill for me. I grew up, you know, riding dirt bikes and whatnot. So I knew how to ride a motorcycle already.
Yeah, there it is too.
Yeah, the Triumph, man.
Beautiful Triumph motorcycle that was on loan to us.
Yes. But interestingly enough, the shifter and everything was reversed on that bike.
Because it's British.
Yes, took a little getting used to that for sure. But that motorcycle, we ended up having to develop a religious routine with that bike. It's a beautiful restored bike, but it did not always like to start. So we learned to start the motorcycle 20 minutes before the show, let it run, get it all warmed up. So when we actually got it on the stage and I had to jump on it and start it up and ride it off, it would actually start. Unfortunately, there was at least 3 times that I can remember that motorcycle refused to start.
Right.
And there's moments when you're on stage and either someone forgets a line or something happens, and it's live theater, some stuff happens where it feels like it takes an hour for it to play out. And I can remember jumping on the motorcycle, and if it didn't start the second or third kick, I had to make the call.
Right, right.
How long is this taking? And is it actually going to start? But I tell you, to see the reaction from the audience was amazing. Because I think a lot of people had no idea we were actually going to start that motorcycle in the theater.
Right.
and rev it
Right
too.
off. Yeah.
It was so loud. It was awesome. And then to see me zip out through the stage, and there was a ramp too,
Right. Right.
and a passenger. I had to get candy
And
up
the
there.
passenger.
Yep.
The historical context for the motorcycle was actually, it's not in the script of the play, and I kind of decided to add it. But what happened, Buddy and the Crickets got to tour England, and just as they were becoming successful, and on their return flight home, they landed in Dallas, and adjacent to the airport was a Triumph dealer. And now they're popular. They got some money in their pockets, and so all three of them bought Triumph motorcycles and rode home to Lubbock, Texas from Dallas. And so that was the context for that motorcycle. And then trying to find a Triumph motorcycle was not easy, and we came upon this one, which was authentic to the period. It had been restored and was on loan to us. I think we exchanged some bunch of tickets for it.
I bet they were pretty cheap back then.
Probably were.
But we should mention the dreaded night the motorcycle went missing.
Yeah. So, you always had the key.
Right.
You were entrusted with the key to the motorcycle. And so at the end of that scene, you'd ride the motorcycle off stage and park it out back behind the theater. And then, we'd finish the show an hour later or something. And, as we're kind of closing up the theater, we'd go get the motorcycle and roll it in and park it on stage, and, good to go till the next day. And so, we went outside to get the motorcycle, and it was not there.
Yeah, I honestly thought, because they played a lot of pranks on me. I was the butt of a few jokes, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So when they came back and said, "Hey Ben, where's the motorcycle?" I immediately assumed someone was screwing around with me.
You thought you were getting pranked.
It was gone.
Yeah.
And I remember being very upset about it because I still had the key. So I got in my car. I remember driving up and down the streets through West Springfield, looking in every driveway, knowing that somebody had to push it. That's the only way they could have taken it.
Right. And it turns out, I think that had to be on a Sunday night or a Sunday matinee. It was a concluding show of that week. And so the next day, I called the fellow out in Indian Orchard who had restored the motorcycle. And, he said, I think there's a guy that lives in those kind of rundown apartments across the street from the theater who's, has a fondness for British motorcycles. Yep. And so I called up the detective who was investigating this and mentioned that. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let me go pay him a visit." Well, sure enough, he walks across the street, and there's the motorcycle
in the guy's living room.
In the guy's living room. So, we recovered the motorcycle and never missed a show. There was no damage to it, or
exactly. Yep.
So, what was your favorite song in the show?
Well, in the show, I had several favorite songs, and one would have to be Johnny Be Good, because it was the end of the show.
Yeah.
And the energy level of that song, the audience was at max energy, and we were just jamming. It was such an awesome moment.
And the entire cast was on stage.
Entire cast. We called people up there, backstage help, everybody. It was wall-to-wall people, but it was fantastic.
Well, that looks like the Johnny Be Good encore right there.
Yeah, you see the people standing up. Yeah, it was that was probably my favorite song from doing the show. But over the years, I've developed my personal favorite Buddy Holly song is actually Every Day. That's just That's my favorite. You'd think it'd be like That'll Be the Day, because that's probably his most famous song, but I don't know. I like Every Day. I just like the context of it and the way he played it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's no fancy guitar solos.
Well, That'll Be the Day was actually the kind of song that brought him into
Oh, without
prominence.
question.
Yeah.
1957. That song hit the airwaves, and they in fact, in the show, if you remember, there's little clips from DJs. I'm gonna spin this song all night or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And they got invited to play the Apollo Theater in Harlem,
Right.
because nobody knew these guys from these three white guys from Lubbock, Texas.
In fact, they didn't know they were white guys.
They thought they were black, and so they show up at the Apollo Theater, and there's some interview I saw that I think it was with Dion that talks about the Apollo gig, and he said they started off and did little Bo Diddley kind of thing at first, and then went into That'll Be the Day, and they kind of pretty much had the audience.
They won the
side.
audience over for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I see a guitar behind you there, Ben.
Oh, this one, the one that
there is that one. Yeah.
This guitar was from the show. You picked this up. It's a replica of Buddy's, the type of guitar that Buddy played, a Starburst Fender Stratocaster. And I remember at the end of our final performance telling you that I'm taking this. It wasn't a question. I'm taking this.
As long as you brought it back when
needed. You can borrow it from me if you want, but it's mine now.
Yeah, I was looking at your acoustic back there. Is that in tune?
It might be. Would you like me to do a song, Danny?
What do you think? You think you can play something?
Sure.
What is it we're listening to?
All right. Well, I thought what I would do were two songs that I think play well on acoustic guitar. Certainly, I'd like to start with Every Day, my favorite. Every day, it's getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, hey, every day, it's going faster. Everyone said, go on up and ask her. Love like yours will surely come my way. Hey, 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 every day seems a little longer. Every way, love's a little stronger. Come what may, do you really long for true love from me? Every day, it's getting closer, going faster than a roller coaster. Love like yours will surely come my way. I'll end it right there.
Nice.
In the show right there, this is when my lovely wife, Stacy, would have taken over on the Celeste, if you're Yes, which I think you got from Springfield Symphony or something.
Yeah, the Springfield Symphony. Yeah.
Yeah, she did not know how to play that, so she had to learn it, of course. But it was so cool having that authentic sound.
You could do a one finger thing, I think, on it.
I think he did it with more than one finger.
Probably did, yeah.
But I think she was, never mind. So, the other song that I thought I would sing is one that I've grown to love. Even though it was the bane of my existence back then, I think it sounds well on acoustic guitar, and that would be True Love Ways. So
why was it the bane of your existence?
Well, we talked about that. The fact I couldn't play guitar.
Okay. just that.
I was just so nervous about that scene, So anyway, I'm going to play it exactly the way Steve Mccartney taught me a long time ago. God rest his soul.
Can you show us some of that fingering while you're, some of those cheat chords while you're doing it?
I can. You probably, if there's any musicians out there, they probably won't like them.
Well, they may pick up a
It gets
tip or
the
two.
job done. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Just why you and I will by and by know true love ways. Sometimes we'll sigh, sometimes we'll cry, and we'll know why. Just you and I know true love ways. Throughout the days, our true love ways will bring us joys to share with those who really care. Sometimes we'll sigh, sometimes we'll cry, and we'll know why. Just you and I know true love ways.
Very nice.
I'm laughing because I totally screwed it up, and I just decided what I do best, just keep singing.
There you go. And we'll have to see if anybody chats in and notices.
Oh, I'm quite sure there's a few of them out there going, oh God, what did he do?
Hi everyone, I'm back.
Hi.
That was a good segue because we have some questions for you from our wonderful viewers. Bonnie Rubin wants to know, will you consider bringing back the Buddy Holly story?
Not with me.
Well, that's an interesting question. We are, over the years, we've been constantly bombarded with.
If you had a nickel, Danny.
Yeah. For every time we've been asked that. And indeed, that's one show that we've brought back at time and time again. We opened this theater with it, and then we brought it back at the end of our first season. Then we brought it back at the end of our 5th season. Then we brought it back at the end of our 10th season, and we brought it back at the end of our 15th season. Now, we did not bring it back at the end of the 20th season. And I opted for $1 Million Quartet instead. But we are coming up on our 25th season, and I don't want to give too much away or make a firm commitment, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a show we'll be producing in our 25th season, maybe around March of our 25th season.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell me here, my teeth are a little long to be Buddy Holly, as they say. I'm a little long in the tooth. Yeah.
I've always actually been a little bit afraid to bring it back now, in part because we'd have to change the cast. And our audience, our subscriber audience especially, those folks have been with us for so many years, and they are so incredibly loyal that if Ben were not in the show and Frank and Aaron were not in the show, I think ultimately those people might be disappointed, so that's like kind of a little bit of a danger thing in my mind. But
the other thing too, I have to say, is we've done the show so many times, and it's become such a legend at the theater, is living up to that.
Yeah.
Everyone's expectation. Yeah.
Right.
That was a tricky thing as we brought it back over the years too, trying to live up to it. But the show does lend itself. It is a good piece of theater.
Oh, it's a great piece of theater.
the energy, the audience gets sucked into the story. And I found, even though through the years that we did the show, that getting that energy did get harder, but not as hard as you would think. Certainly when you get that response from the audience, they loved it.
Hey, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but Maria Elena Holly came up when we first opened the theater and spent a weekend with us watching the show. I remember getting a phone call from an attorney. This is way before I think we started rehearsal even. And, I think he was hitting me up for some name and likeness money for Maria Elena. And of course, she owned a piece of the show anyway. Yeah. But I did say to him, I'd love to invite her to come up to Massachusetts. She's still living down in Texas, and join us for a weekend. And he passed that on to us. And sure enough, didn't I get a phone call from Maria Elena, a couple of days later, and she said she'll come. And I said, well, we'll buy your airplane ticket and we'll put you up while you're here. And sure enough, she came up and spent the weekend, kind of a wild weekend with us.
She was a hoot. She really was. She brought a great energy with her. She loved the show. And she had some great advice for us and some great comments too. But she certainly liked to come party with us after the show.
Afterward, yeah.
I think it made us love her even more. Like at the end of the show, we brought the cast up out on the stage. She jumped right up there to do Johnny B. Good with us. It was awesome.
For Johnny B. Good.
Yes, absolutely. Right. Yeah, she was a hoot.
Yep. Was great having her there. And I remember her saying that she was very, very complimentary of both you and Melissa and of the show itself. But I think she admired I think her term was earnestness of your performance,
I'll take it.
But it's what I think our audience connects with you, Ben, regardless if it's been Buddy Holly or Miss Saigon or whatever show you happen to be doing with us. It's that quality I think that the audience, our audience connects with, for sure.
I like to do my absolute very best to try and bring a character to life if I can.
Yeah. So Maria Elena, and the play was almost 3 hours long, if you remember. It got stretched out.
Yes.
We added songs to the Apollo scene, and
longer as the show went on.
Yeah, and there were days when we do 2 shows a day, right? We do a matinee and then an evening.
Yeah.
And we also did a midnight show, if you remember that one.
Legendary midnight show at the Majestic. Yep.
Yeah. I think the problem was, it was when we extended the run of the show, Frank Manzi had a gig that he could not get out of.
I was talking with Tim Hosmer today.
Yeah.
I thought it was the wind. It was Aaron's band that had a gig.
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah. So either way, because we had so many musicians, there was a lot of conflicts, as you can imagine.
So. Right. To work out. But anyway, we just decided, well, what the hell? We'll schedule a midnight show, and we'll see what happens. So we scheduled a midnight show. It sold out. We were there till 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I think we went up to Steve Campanini's house and
God. I don't think we had shows
fireworks or something.
I hope not. But back then we were a little younger, could do those types of things.
Yeah, we were quite a bit younger. We were kind of, and this is a good story, because the producers from London decided to come over and see the show. Now, I first saw the show myself, the West End in London, and I thought, well, what a perfect show this would be to open the Majestic Theater with, and after a 2-year renovation. And I wrote to Alan James, who wrote the book for the show, and told him what we were doing, and he put me in touch with the producer there, and lo and behold, we got a license to do the show. So we were actually the first, the very first theater company in America to home grow a production of the Buddy Holly story. It had been here on tour, it had played Broadway and then got out on the road, but it had always played Broadway size houses, whether it's in England or wherever it was. And the producers were interested in seeing if the show would work in a small space, like in a 200-seat space. Well, at the time, I think we were 165 seats.
Yeah, the theater has grown a bit.
The theater's grown a little bit. But knowing that if the play could be effective in a small theater, that just opened up tons of licensing possibilities for those guys who own the show. And so the producers came over to spend did they spend a weekend with us? They were here a few days.
It was a huge thrill to have them there, and it certainly ramped up our energy to know that they were there as well. We had a lot of surprise guests, and there was some legendary guests, if you remember. We'll get back to the London thing in a second, but do you remember the legend of Paul McCartney?
Yes.
The night that Paul was supposed to come. Yes.
Well, what people may not know is that Paul McCartney, at the time anyway, and he may still, who knows, owned the Buddy Holly catalog.
Yeah.
So, I know we had gotten a rumor that he'd be interested in coming, and I know I wrote a couple of letters to his office in New York, MPL Productions, and inviting him, and we sort of had this kind of
but word got out too, though. We had publicity about it.
Yeah.
We had the seat all set up, and weren't there like reporters, like just in case?
Just in case.
Wow.
We had to hire a couple of cops.
Oh my God.
Block off some parking spaces in case he rolled up in a limousine.
His loss. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
So back to London.
Back to London.
They came to see the show, and the summer after we had wrapped up a run of the show, I got a call from Dave Madsen, who was a great friend of the theater, and I'm friends. We live in the same town, and Stacy and I had been taking his son Greg to the theater because Greg was helping out backstage, and Dave was very thankful and gracious that we were doing that for him. And Dave had won some airline tickets to London and couldn't use them. And he said, "Hey, do you want them?" We jumped at the chance. So Stacy and I went to London for 4 or 5 days, and we actually stayed at a bed and breakfast about half an hour out of the city at Paul, the producer's, I think it was his mother-in-law's house or something. We had an absolute ball. In fact, I'm wearing a shirt that I got at the Strand Theater in London, because if you remember in the show, in the program, there would be a red dot in one of the programs. And they knew I was there because we actually went out to dinner with them prior to the show and stuff. And Stacy and I got to tour the stage and meet the cast and stuff. It was amazing. But I ended up getting the red dot in my program, and they gave me a shirt and a sweatshirt and all that fun stuff. But I don't wear this out often, as you would imagine. But that London trip was spectacular.
Yeah, speaking of the red dot, we pulled a an interesting trick on Doug Wallace's girlfriend at the time.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So there was a red dot in the program, right? And just one. And whoever had that red dot would get called down to the stage. Was this during the surf set, I think?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
We had Miss Clearlake or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she would sing the national anthem, right?
Right. So this woman got invited down onto the stage, and we had this all set up where everybody had these little cards that once you turned them around, spelled out, "Will you marry me?" And it was that proposal. You remember that? You're shocked.
Danny, you are frozen. Oh, there we go. Okay, I don't know if that was me.
So that was another.
Oh, there's so many.
How about bloopers? We got any memorable bloopers you can?
Yeah, there's quite a few. You do a show that many times, things are bound to go wrong.
Oh yeah.
Besides the motorcycle not starting, one of my most memorable bloopers in the beginning of the second act, we would come out, Buddy Holly and the Crickets, and we were dressed up nice because, like you said, now Buddy's got a little bit of money in his pockets, and we thought we were cool. We all came out in these black sunglasses, and so I remember getting out there, and we had just gotten so comfortable. We'd done the show so many times, everything had a rhythm. Well, about 10 minutes into the scene, I'm supposed to reveal to Maria Elena that I'm actually Buddy Holly. So I take off my sunglasses and put my real Buddy glasses on. And I get out on stage, and about a minute in, I realize I forgot to set my Buddy glasses in my jacket. So I'm now freaking out. But the thing with being on stage in front of 200 people or whatever, you can't show them that you're freaking out. And then that's where acting comes in. I tried to stay in the scene and think to myself as I'm still delivering my lines, how can I fix this? Right. So I picked a moment. I looked at the guys and said, "Hey fellas, I'll be right back." And I ran off the stage, and the poor guys had no idea this was coming. So they were looking at each other. So I booked off stage and grabbed my glasses, and I came back out, and you and I were talking about this, how the musicians decided to become actors.
Yeah. Once they got a little taste, they wanted a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
So I came back out, and I think Tim was flirting with Maria Elena. But just talking about that same scene, when we walked out with the glasses, one of the priceless moments of the show was the three musicians, the three Crickets, would walk out and they would sit on a bench.
Yeah.
They couldn't just sit on this bench though. They made it became such a thing. They would all to do the same thing at the same time, sit, then fold their legs, and then turn their heads. It was awesome. They latched onto that moment, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. But speaking of bloopers, here's another good one. Poor Tim Hosmer. There was a scene. It was just Maria Elena and I. I think we were in Buddy's apartment, and
for those of you, those who might be watching who don't know, Tim Hosmer played one of the Crickets, played Jerry Allison, the drummer.
The drummer, right. So Tim was backstage, and I was talking with him today. We were reminiscing about this story, and he said, "Geez, where the heck is everybody? I'm the only one taking this seriously. Geez." So I'm in the scene with Maria Elena, and in comes Tim walking out on the stage, and I looked at him, and I said, "Hey man, what are you doing here?" And the recognition that went over his face was unbelievable. He's, "Sorry, buddy, I'll see you later." He walked back off. Oh, those are some good moments. Good moments. And there was many other bloopers. There was a lot of things that happened backstage, but we don't need those. Could stay backstage, I think.
Yeah, those should probably stay backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Memorable bloopers. I'm running down my list of questions here. God, I think I'm almost out of them.
Well, let me ask you. Here's a question for you.
Okay.
What was it like for you putting this show together and trying to find this cast to open a theater in a new space and all that work? What was it like back then?
That's a long time ago. I'm not sure I remember.
It was for sure.
Uh,
But I remember you came to see me in a secret garden, I think.
yeah, down in Connecticut somewhere.
Yeah, Sheer Cohen knew you were looking for somebody, and she called you up and told you to come see the show. And
oh, to this day, she brags about how she found my buddy Holly for me.
uh-huh. Well, I remember I don't remember actually getting the phone call, but I do remember not knowing anything about the Majestic. I knew nothing about the show, but you encouraged me to come down and audition. So
Well, the Majestic didn't really exist at that point. You know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh well. The rest is history, as they say.
The rest is history. So, Emily, I'm wondering if you're monitoring this. Do we have other questions from any of the viewers?
So actually, you've answered almost all of them. And I just want you to know that you're getting wonderful feedback. Our viewers are very excited and very happy. And I particularly love this from Lori E. said, "This is the best day in quarantine."
Oh,
That's
great effort.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think we can wrap it up. Thank you both so much. And I know, Danny, you have some closing words you'd like to say.
I do. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone who's tuned in. Ben, thank you for helping us kick off Behind the Curtain at the Majestic. And Emily and Carly and Todd and all those people who were so involved in this. Don't forget to go on our website. There are more things happening. Next week, I'll be talking with Kate Damon, and lots of interesting questions and shows that she's been in at the Majestic. The recording of this production this afternoon will be on our website. So if you liked it and enjoyed it and want to look at it again or pass the word on to some friends of yours, you'll go find it on our website. So I think on that note, we'll sign off.
Excellent.